Hello world, this is Lisa Friedrichsen, your friend and computer science professor. And in this short screencast, we're going to dig into the actual technologies of the full stack and discuss HTML. This information will help you know what you need to know before spending $10,000 or more on a coding bootcamp. The goals of this video are to understand the purpose and role of HTML, review the HTML syntax, and identify good HTML learning resources. As a quick review, the full stack are the 5 technologies you need to know in order to build a web application. The front end has 3 technologies, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and the back end has 2 technologies, a server-side language and relational database. I have a definite idea on how to sequence a stack. I believe you need to learn HTML hypertext markup language first, and then how to style it with cascading style sheets, how to interact with it with JavaScript. And then on the server side, you jump into relational databases and server-side languages. It's key that you understand the purpose of HTML. Its purpose is to mark up the content on a web page. And what is the content on the web page? Well, it could be text, it could be images, it could be video, audio, or other types of files. So HTML identifies this content and marks it up. Hence, it's a markup language as opposed to a traditional programming language. Is it a computer language? Sometimes I ask my students, is HTML a computer language? Well, absolutely, yes, it is. But it's not parallel to other programming languages like JavaScript or Java. It is a markup language, and it marks up the content similar to how you see on this slide. For example, we have tags that start and end that mark the beginning of content and the end of content. All of the content on a web page is inside the body open and body close tags, and we identify a close tag by a slash before the tag name. And then within the body, we might have something like this, a heading 1 tag. Top of the Rock presents Legends of Golf, and a closing head 1 tag. What's in black is textual content. What's in yellow is the HTML markup language. Here we have a paragraph. Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus are 2 of the greatest golfers of all time. That's the content. It's a paragraph. So I'm marking the beginning of the paragraph and the end of the paragraph. That, in a nutshell, is hypertext markup language. Now, the reason it's called hypertext markup language is because the hypertext refers to links, or sometimes we call them hyperlinks, because way back in the beginning of HTML's life, its purpose in life was to help researchers hyperlink or link together documents that related to one another on various computers. Now, to see HTML on any web page, you simply right-click it and view the source. You can right-click and view the page source, view the HTML of any web page. And while this may look like a plate of spaghetti now, very quickly you'll be able to recognize this code. For example, a UL open tag and a UL close tag means an unordered list. An LI open tag and an LI close tag means a list item. A button tag means we're opening some sort of clickable button, and it's called more, and here we're closing that button. Here's another page for a small business where I sometimes board my dog, view page source, and again we can see as we scroll through this, opening tags, opening divisions, closing divisions. So on any web page that you look at, here's my web page that I use for my students at JCCC, my community college. You can right-click and look at the page source and see the opening tags and the closing tags. So really, that's what HTML is. It's tags that identify where content starts and where it stops. Now, to learn HTML, you need a code editor. Sometimes it's called a text editor. 4 of the most popular are Notepad++, Brackets, which runs both on Windows and Mac, Text Wrangler, which runs only on Mac, and Sublime, which is also both a Windows and a Mac code editor. I still prefer Notepad++ on Windows. We edit our code, we write our code in one program, and then we look at it in another program. We look at it in a browser. So if you're used to working with a file where you both develop the file and also view the file in one program, such as Word or Excel or PowerPoint, it might be a little odd to you that you're developing your code in one program and then you're displaying it in another program. Here is Notepad++. You do not have a code editor. You'll want to go to Google and type in Notepad++ if you're on a Windows machine and download that, or perhaps you want to go for the more sophisticated brackets software. Again, it's also open source, and download a code editor. It's really important to use a decent code editor because it helps you color code your code, which is enormously helpful to read it, understand it, and debug it. So with your code editor open, go ahead and type these 12 lines. This is a declaration statement. It states that the rest of the code will be written in HTML5. This statement is an opening HTML and a closing HTML tag, and it states that the language we're going to be using is English. Then every HTML document has both a head and a body section. The head section contains information about the page, such as the title, and I've put in a title tags, opening and closing tags, and made golf the title of my page. What you see in green here is a comment. The comment syntax in HTML is quite verbose. It starts with the opening angle bracket, exclamation point, dash dash, and ends with dash dash, closing angle bracket. But I put that comment in there to identify that every web page should have a head section. Every web page should also have a body section, and that's the information that's actually on the page. And I put this long comment in to explain that. And then my H1 tag, my heading 1. The heading level 1 tags are very important because they identify the primary subject of the web page and are often used in search engine optimization for indexing purposes. And then I put in one paragraph. Now to run this code, to see this code, we have to open it in a browser. And fortunately, Notepad++ offers us this wonderful little run tool, and most code editors do. They'll have some sort of run tool where you can run that code in any of the available browsers on your machine. I see the title of the web page is golf up in the upper section of my web page. I see my heading 1 content, and I see my paragraph content. So this is how HTML developers work. They typically code on their left screen, and if I add another paragraph and talk about Nancy Lopez is a great female golfer, I can save that code and then refresh it on the right and see my next paragraph. So you see why HTML is a markup language. It's marking up the content. It's also a hypertext language. So that if I want Jack Nicklaus to hypertext, if I want to make that a link to his Wikipedia page, I can do that with the appropriate tags. Now the appropriate tags for a hyperlink are A tags, and that stands for anchor. We're going to anchor this content to another web page. But what is the other web page that we're going to anchor his content to? We have to give this opening A tag a little bit more information to make that happen. So I'm going to find his Wikipedia page, put that on my clipboard, and at this point in time I need to come back into that opening A tag and add some more information, hyperlink reference, and paste in the link to his wiki page. Save, refresh my web page, and now I have a hyperlink. So there in a nutshell is HTML. Hypertext, we made this a hypertext link. Markup, we know what markup means. We're marking up the content with tags that identify it. Hypertext markup language. We've learned that in order to learn HTML, you need a good code editor. You need a browser, which we all have on our machine, Chrome, Firefox, Edge, Safari on a Mac. You need some good resources to give you some hands-on exercises to stretch your understanding of all of these tags. And so now I'm going to take you to a couple of my favorite teaching textbooks. If you go through the exercises in this textbook, you will really understand HTML and CSS. Another one of my favorite textbooks is this one. It's got a wonderful 2-page layout, so it's a little bit easier to digest. But the thing that both of these textbooks have in common are an extensive series of hands-on exercises. And that's how you're going to learn this, by opening up your code editor and really going through the exercises and writing all these tags and hand coding it. You're going to want to know about w3schools.com. W3 Schools is one of the premier sites to learn web technologies. And as you go through their little exercises, you'll read a little, you'll see an example, and then you'll click the Try It Yourself button, which allows you to see the code on your left, write a new paragraph, and run the code, and then see the example on the right. Finally, I also recommend some good YouTube videos because you can only read so long. I recommend my own YouTube videos. I've got my own playlist on HTML and CSS. If you come to my homepage, this is actually for my students at my community college, but you'll find a few more resources in my HTML and CSS class. You're welcome to look at these YouTubes. And I also recommend Learn Web Code. As we get into CSS and JavaScript, I'll recommend some other authors that I've found really valuable as well. The full stack, there's number one, HTML. You now know its purpose in life to mark up and describe and structure content and provide hyperlinks. In our next video, we'll put CSS, cascading style sheets, in their proper perspective. Thank you for listening.